My beloved child, before you rush into another day, be still and listen. Heaven is speaking not in thunder, but in a whisper meant only for you. Every delay, every silence, every unanswered prayer was never a punishment. It was preparation. For in the quiet, I am shaping your peace, and through your peace, I will shape the world. If this message touches your heart, my child, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it so others may also hear the voice of calm that heaven is sending today. Your simple act of faith could be the light that guides someone home. My beloved child, let us begin again with quiet. Not the quiet of emptiness, but the quiet that gathers meaning. Listen, not to noise, not to fear, but to the pulse of peace beneath all things. Listen as the sea listens when the moon remembers to breathe. Elias stands where land kisses the tide, the wooden pier stretching into gray water that has forgotten how to rage. The sky holds a hush too large for words. Mist weaves its patient hands through ropes and rails. The air is soft with the scent of salt and wet cedar. For the first time in many seasons, the town's old hilltop bell begins to move. It does not shout, it sighs. The sound carries like a prayer on the wind, low and steady, reaching across the harbor to find the one heart ready to hear. Elias looks up. The sound passes through his chest as though his ribs were made for it. He feels nothing dramatic, only the weight of stillness pressing gently on his thoughts. His fingers rest on the weathered rail. Beneath them, the wood feels alive, remembering storms that once tore the planks apart. But now, everything waits. The bell continues its single note. Not a summons, not a warning, only an invitation. It is saying, pause, do not rush. The world will wait for you. My child, this is your appointed hour to stop measuring faith by movement. What you call delay is often divine arrangement. What feels like silence is the preparation of sound. Elias closes his eyes. He thinks of nights spent speaking to walls, of prayers whispered into exhaustion, of dreams small enough to hide inside his coat pocket. He had imagined faith as climbing, as noise, as proof. Yet the bell tells another story. It says that holiness can happen while sitting still. The bell rings again. The sound ripples across the harbor and touches the glass of the decommissioned lighthouse. The light inside is unlit, but the glass glows faintly as if remembering flame. He recalls an old journal, leather cracked, pages wrinkled by salt air. In its pages are short prayers written without ceremony. He had once called them insignificant. Now he understands. Small prayers are not lesser prayers. They are seeds. Beloved one, nothing written in love is wasted. Every sigh you gave me in the dark was counted and cherished. The tears that never learned to fall still reached me. I have kept them all. The tide lifts, then retreats. Each wave bends around his feet as though bowing to something unseen. He does not feel grand or chosen. He feels known. The difference is subtle and infinite. He walks toward the path leading up the hill. The mist parts before him like curtains of breath. Along the path he notices simple mercies. A fallen feather, a vine with tiny blue blossoms, the smell of bread from a bakery that opens before dawn. Life has been speaking all along. He simply forgot the language. My child, remember this. The right door will not humiliate you. The right place will not demand that you shrink to fit. Peace is the signature of my will. When you feel that peace, even if you cannot explain it, trust it. Elias reaches the top. The retreat house stands quiet, its paint faded, its porch wide enough to hold questions. Dust lies on the railing, but even dust carries patience. A single chair waits beside the door, angled toward the sea. He sits. The chair does not ask him to earn its rest. His breathing slows until the bell's rhythm and his heartbeat become one. He takes the journal from his coat, opens to a blank page, and lets the stillness speak through him. He writes no grand words, only "Thank you for letting me stop running." A voice rises within, not loud, not external, but steady, warm, and unmistakable. Beloved, the season of striving is over. You do not have to prove what love already knows. Sit in grace until you remember who I said you are. Let quiet be your teacher, and rest your rebellion. The clouds open slightly. Light spills across the sea, silver and forgiving. Elias closes his eyes and lets it fill him. He does not need another sign. He is already surrounded by one that breathes. And somewhere between the bell and the horizon, a whisper says, "This is how your story begins, not with thunder, but with peace." Morning folds itself into day with the gentleness of a slow tide. Elias wakes to the sound of wind brushing against the windows of the retreat house. The bell no longer rings, yet its echo lingers inside him like a heartbeat under the floorboards. He rises quietly, careful not to disturb the calm that has settled over everything. Outside, the air tastes new. The storm-scarred landscape glows in shy light. Every blade of grass trembles with dew, as if the earth itself had been washed of hurry. Elias walks down the hill, his coat brushing against thistles and wild rosemary. He carries no destination, only listening. My beloved child, the silence you fear is not absence. It is healing disguised as stillness. I have hidden you, not forgotten you. I have slowed you down so that what I placed within you can catch up to your future. He remembers the months when each day felt heavy with sameness. Work, fatigue, polite smiles, and the steady ache of unseen waiting. He thought he had been abandoned by purpose, but now he realizes that the waiting was purpose itself. He reaches the shoreline again. Fishermen are preparing their boats, calling to one another in voices wrapped with salt and laughter. None of them notice him. He feels invisible but peaceful. There is freedom in not needing to be seen. Once, he had chased every open door, desperate for validation. Each time he entered one, it closed behind him with lessons he barely survived. The path of noise had taught him exhaustion. The path of quiet now teaches discernment. Beloved one, a seed does not call failure what is really burial. Hiddenness is not punishment. It is protection until your roots can hold the weight of the wind. Elias kneels by the water. His reflection trembles but does not break. He studies the face that weathered too much trying to please too many. He forgives it, not with words but with rest. He whispers, "I will no longer chase storms to feel alive." The tide answers with a soft pulse against the rocks. He opens his journal and begins to write again. The ink bleeds slightly where the page drinks the sea breeze. His handwriting steadies as his mind slows. He writes about unseen seasons, how every loss was actually pruning, every delay, a rehearsal for grace, every unanswered prayer, a redirection toward gentler ground. The voice returns, low and fatherly. My child, do not measure your worth by motion. What I build in secret lasts longer than what you can announce. I am teaching you to live rhythm instead of rush. The unseen years are not wasted years. He closes the journal and looks toward the horizon. Clouds gather but do not threaten. He feels strength beneath calm, the kind of strength that does not need to prove itself. Far up the hill, the bell stands silent but proud, as if waiting for the next appointed moment to speak. Elias smiles, realizing that heaven's timing has never been late, only precise. He turns toward the path home. Each step feels lighter, as though the earth itself is cheering quietly. He has not solved his life, yet it finally fits in his hands. Before reaching the retreat house, he stops and looks back at the sea. The light has shifted. The gray now glows with soft gold. My beloved, the season behind the season has done its work. You are ready not because you are strong, but because you are surrendered. When I call again, it will not sound like command, but like recognition. Until then, walk slowly, breathe deeply, and remember the bell will always find you when it is time. Elias nods to the wind, the sky, and the silence. Then he walks up the hill, one calm step at a time. The sea exhales. The day begins. And somewhere, though no one hears it, the bell hums a single note, smiling through the air. My beloved child, take the journal again and listen. Not for thunder, not for spectacle. Listen for the soft cartography of grace that traces its lines within your breathing. The map you need will not arrive in shouting ink. It will appear as patience that arranges your steps like small stones across a stream. Elias wakes before the pale rim of light has found the horizon. The room holds a clean quiet, as if the night has washed it and set it to dry. Floorboards keep their secrets. The kettle accepts water without complaint. He waits for the first tremble of heat and lets the slow rise of steam be his morning hymn. He does not hurry the flame, he lets the flame teach him. Outside, a gull rehearses a single note. Wind moves through the grasses along the hill as a harp played by unseen hands. Elias carries his cup to the porch and sits where the chair remembers his weight. The bell is silent. The silence is not empty. It is full of instructions that cannot be heard by a crowded mind. Beloved one, you have asked for directions and feared that I was unmoved. I have been drawing a map across your days in a language you forgot how to read. Today we will remember. Watch how the ordinary points the way. He opens the journal and finds a page from a forgotten season. The handwriting is strained where it once tried to impress an answer into the paper. The words themselves are plain. He traces them with the back of a finger and feels how needful they once were. He does not despise the version of himself who wrote them. He blesses him. He understands now that prayer is not a performance. It is companionship. It is the steady presence of love keeping watch at the door of breath. The map begins with 3 simple landmarks that are not even objects. They are ways of standing. First, the soft weight of gratitude. Second, the clear strength of boundaries. Third, the brave gentleness that lets go without bitterness. Elias speaks them aloud in his own words, not as spells, but as posture. The air around him seems to nod. He closes the journal and steps into the day. Down the path, dew holds the light like tiny lanterns. He recognizes that the path itself is a teacher. It does not demand leap or flight. It asks for one step and then another. It gives just enough room for a single stride. The map, drawn in silence, feels like this path. At the base of the hill, the old lighthouse waits with its glass polished by years of salt and patience. He studies the lens. It was made to gather a small flame and turn it into guidance for many. Even unlit, it speaks. The message is simple. Do the small, faithful thing and trust the lens to widen the reach. Inside the lighthouse, the air holds a light smell of oil and old rope. A table stands near the wall. On the table sits a bundle of charts that do not belong to him, left behind by keepers from another time. He does not unfold them. He honors them by leaving them as they are. The map he needs is not about tides and reefs. The map for this hour is about the orientation of his heart. Beloved child, you wanted a line from beginning to ending. I am giving you a compass that refuses to spin. Peace is north, love is east, faithfulness is south, joy is west. Wherever you stand, you can face home. He smiles at the thought, not with triumph, but with relief. He has been given a way to keep from being lost, even when fog forgets to lift. He walks to the shoreline. Nearby, a child has built a small city of sand walls and delicate bridges. The tide has already sent its first gentle messengers. One bridge is gone, a wall leans. The child sits beside the ruin and hums, as if the sea were a beloved cousin who visits and tidies the drawings of the shore. Elias watches how the child does not call it failure. The child calls it play. The child builds again. He thanks the unseen teacher and carries the lesson home. Back at the retreat house, the table waits. He places on it 3 items that feel like companions for the day. A simple loaf wrapped in cloth, a small vial of oil left by a former caretaker, the journal. He does not need more. He has chosen to travel light, even while standing still. Guests will come in another season. He senses this, but does not spend the morning reaching for it. He cleans what can be cleaned now. He mends a step that snags at the edge. He oils the hinges that complain. He writes a note to himself and slides it into the journal cover. The note says, in gentle, patient handwriting, "Walk as if goodness has already arrived." Beloved one, maps are not only for movement, they are for remembering where you are when storms try to rename you. When the air thickens and your breath shortens, place your hand upon your chest and feel the compass I have given you. Peace, love, faithfulness, joy. Choose your direction with gratitude, and I will honor that choice with my presence. By late morning, the sky clears. The light lays a blessing over the water. Elias feels gratitude land within him like a bird that trusts his shoulder. He prepares a simple meal and eats without distraction. He looks at each bite with respect. He thanks the soil, the rain, the hand that baked, the hand that carried, the hand that now receives. The old habit of rush loosens its grip. A knock touches the door. It is soft. He opens to the sight of a letter left on the mat, heavy with no signature. He does not tear it open. He places it on the table where the oil and the journal wait. Most of the map will be read in the posture you choose while you wait, the voice says. He nods, and the nod feels like prayer. Afternoon leans into the hill with warm shoulders. He walks the path again and stops where a small wooden post marks a boundary of the property. The post leans. He straightens it, presses the earth firm around its feet, and steps back. Boundaries bless everyone they protect. Even this small border seems to stand taller with relief. Evening begins to collect its colors. He lights no lamp. He lets the dim teach his eyes to widen. He writes 2 simple lines in the journal. The first line says, "Thank you for maps that arrive as character." The second line says, "I will walk slowly enough to notice when love points." He closes the book and sits with the quiet. He thinks of the child in the sand city and the tide that edits without malice. He lets the lesson rest inside him until it becomes a way of seeing. Then he lifts his cup, finishes the last warm swallow, and is ready for rest. The bell remains quiet upon the hill. It does not need to ring. The map has already spoken. Morning voices itself with a pale ribbon of light at the edge of the sea. Elias wakes with the feeling that today is not wait but invitation. He moves with respectful slowness, like a guest in his own life. The kettle whispers. The cup warms his hands and tells him to be kind to his breath. He obeys. Beloved child, today you will walk past many doors. Some will glitter with borrowed shine. Some will open with flattery. Some will ask for your worth as a ticket. You will not enter those. You will know the right door because peace will meet you at the threshold and call you by your true name. He steps outside. The grass bows under the dew. A narrow road descends the hill and spills into the town like a stream that already knows the river. As he walks, houses greet him with curtains that sway and porches that yawn. He keeps his eyes open for kindness and for truth. He does not hunt opportunity. He lets opportunity relax in his presence and show its real shape. Near the square, a small notice board holds a leaflet about the Hilltop Retreat House. Someone has handwritten a question at the bottom. The place with the wide porch. Is it open yet? The letters are careful and shy. Elias studies the space between the words and feels a tap at the door of his heart. He writes a reply on a slip of paper. The porch is open. The kettle is willing. The chairs remember how to hold. Come when you are ready. He leaves it there with a small stone to keep it from wandering away on a breeze. He turns a corner and meets a familiar narrowing in the chest. The alley is lined with doors. Many look newly painted. A few stand open on purpose, arranged to catch the glance of anyone passing. Warm smells drift out. Promises hang in the air like banners. A voice he remembers from an older life whispers that he should go in, introduce himself, become impressive. The whisper is smooth but hungry. He pauses at the mouth of the alley and lets the old urge speak itself empty. He does not argue with it. He holds it the way one holds a spoon that is too hot, palms open so it can cool. Beloved one, the right door will not require you to shrink or to swell. It will not ask you to perform exhaustion. It will meet you with recognition. The welcome will feel like a chair that fits your back without negotiation. He walks past the open displays without contempt. He blesses them in his heart and keeps going. At the far end of the alley stands a door he has overlooked for years. It is plain. The paint is not fresh. The handle bears the shine of many faithful hands. No sign leans above it. A single leaf is caught in the crack, as if nature itself were asking to come in. Elias steps closer. His breath slows, not from caution, but from recognition. There is no pressure in the air. There is only a certainty that feels like a soft weight in the center of his chest. He touches the handle. The door opens without complaint, as if it has been waiting for a gentle knock. Inside is a room with long tables and an honest floor. Sunlight lays squares upon the boards where the windows allow it. The scent of wood and tea and honest work fills the space. A person at the far table glances up with eyes that neither measure nor demand. The person returns to their task and hums a quiet tune. Elias does not feel the need to adjust himself. He stands at the threshold and listens to his body. Shoulders do not rise. Jaw does not clench. The small muscles behind his heart do not brace for impact. He is at ease without effort. This is what peace feels like when it has weight. Beloved child, you may step in, you may sit, you may offer what you carry without apology. The door that is yours will never make you pay with your soul. He crosses the room and sits at a corner of a table. A wooden box rests near his hand. Inside the box are simple tools, each shaped by years of faithful use. A folded note lies on top. Welcome. Take what you need. Return what you do not. The handwriting is unassuming and kind. Elias lifts a small plane and a length of soft wood. He does not know exactly what he will make. He only knows that his hands are welcome here. Work in this room feels like prayer without words. The blade finds its rhythm. The shavings curl like small ocean waves and gather beside his wrist. He breathes in their clean fragrance and thinks of forests he has not yet walked. The person across the room hums a tune that steadies the pace of his movements. No one asks for a resume. No one performs a speech. The room itself seems to sing a simple law. Be honest. Be present. Be gentle and strong at once. He shapes a small frame. It is nothing grand. It is true. A window for the retreat house begins to become itself in his hands. He sees where the joints will meet and imagines the light that will sit inside those borders. He is surprised by joy so quiet it almost hides, but he does not let it hide. He honors it. At midday he rests. The person at the far table pours tea into 2 cups and slides one toward him without looking up from their work. He receives it the way one receives a blessing and sets it near the frame. Steam hangs in the air like a veil. They say nothing. The silence does not exclude, it gathers. Beloved one, strive where love has not sent you, and you will drown in praise that tastes like ash. Serve where peace plants you, and you will grow roots that do not fear wind. You have found a door that mirrors your heart. Guard this tone, work in this rhythm, and you will carry it into every other room. When the light begins to turn soft, Elias rises, cleans the space he used, and thanks the quiet workers with a small nod. The same nod returns to him. He takes the unfinished frame with permission and carries it up the hill. Each step feels like a sentence well spoken. He reaches the porch, measures the window with careful eyes, and holds the frame against the opening. It fits, as if the house had always been waiting for it. He sets it aside and writes a line in the journal. The right door was simple. It did not flatter me. It did not ask for my mask. It asked for my honest hands. He looks toward the bell. Evening collects in the bowl of the sky. A thin moon lifts itself like a silver bookmark, saving the place of this day. He breathes, slow and grateful. Inside, the letter without a signature still rests on the table. He touches its edge and feels curiosity rise like a tide that knows its bounds. He chooses to wait until morning to open it. Waiting is no longer a punishment. It is a way of honoring the work peace has done in him. Beloved child, you will pass many doors in your life. Some will lean on you with applause. Some will promise speed at the price of your center. Walk by with kindness. The door that is yours will never hurry you past your own soul. When you meet it, your breath will lengthen, and your true name will sound in the quiet. Elias closes the journal, sets the tools back in their box, and watches the sea gather its darker shades. The porch carries his weight as if proud to hold him. The house breathes. The hill keeps its gentle watch. The bell does not ring tonight. It does not need to. The lesson has already taken its seat. My beloved child, hold out your hands. Let kindness settle there like warm bread. Let strength stand behind it like a steady wall. This is how you will love without losing your shape. This is how you will bless without bending until you break. Morning breathes through open windows. The retreat house smells faintly of cedar and tea. Elias wakes before the light has gathered its courage, and for a time he rests in the hush that greets the day. He remembers the door that welcomed his honest hands, and the way his breath lengthened as he crossed its threshold. He remembers the letter on the table, and, with a calm heart, lets it wait a little more. Patience is not a delay. It is a blessing that gives meaning time to ripen. He carries the wooden frame to the porch and sets it upon the sawhorses. The grain glows with a quiet pride. He sands the edges until every corner stops whispering of splinters. When he is finished, he runs his palm along the smoothness, then leaves it to rest in the shade. He will mount it when the afternoon light returns. Down the hill, the town stirs. Elias visits the square with a small list written in gentle script. Oil for the hinges that still complain. A length of cloth for the table that will soon hold bread and letters. A packet of seeds for the strip of soil that runs beside the porch. He greets the day with simple errands and notices how even the street seems relieved that he is walking, not hurrying. At the notice board, a reply has appeared beneath his invitation. It helps to know there is a place. Thank you. Initiated with a small mark that could be a leaf or a tear, he cannot tell. He answers as he did before, with quiet welcome. The place will be here when you are. He leaves a second message that says, if your hands are tired, come and rest them on the table. It knows how to carry. Beloved one, kindness without a spine dissolves into rescue and resentment. Strength without kindness hardens into distance. I am teaching you to wear both. Your yes will be warm, your no will be wise. Both will be blessed. On the way back, he passes a narrow lane where a familiar voice rises, too sharp for morning. He does not step in. He slows and listens for truth beneath the noise. When he hears no invitation from peace, he nods to the air and moves on. He will not pour oil on fires that have not asked to be healed. He will not confuse interference with mercy. There will be a time to help, and when it comes, the door will feel like the one he found yesterday. Until then, he keeps his center. Back at the retreat house, he opens the letter at last. The pages are thick, the handwriting steady, the voice spare. I have carried a heavy thing between us for long years. I do not know how to put it down. If the porch is truly open, let this be my first step toward laying it there. The letter does not demand an answer. It asks for a place to breathe. Elias takes a slow breath, and then another. He sets out a pitcher of water, 2 cups, and the soft cloth for the table. He opens the door wide so it will not creak when a tired heart comes through. He writes a simple reply. The porch is open. The table is gentle. You may come when the day is ready for you. As the sun climbs, a figure appears at the hill's base, small as a thought, and then, by degrees, a person. No face is described, only the careful way the shoulders move and the way the steps match the rise of the land. Elias does not meet them halfway. He tends the space so it can do the meeting. He wipes the table as if polishing a welcome. He oils the hinge that would have groaned. He places the cups where they will be easy to reach. Kindness takes shape in small practicalities. The footsteps reach the porch and pause. The person remains outside the threshold as if waiting to learn the house's rules. Elias speaks with the tone that turns fear into soft clay. You do not have to tell the whole story today. You do not have to be brave all at once. Sit as long as you like. When the person sits and says nothing for a while. Wind moves through the bell but does not ring it. The house listens with them. When words come, they come in fragments that do not yet wish to be a narrative. Regrets placed like stones along a riverbank. What could have been and what was. Elias does not collect the stones, nor does he throw them. He lets them be part of the bank that guides the water toward rest. Beloved child, do not rush a confession just to silence your own discomfort. Rest even while truth finds its legs. Your patience is a blanket to someone who has lived too long in cold weather. When the cup has been emptied and the shoulders have softened, Elias offers 2 sentences. You are not late, you are here. The person holds those words as if testing their weight, then nods a single grateful nod. When they leave, they do not hurry. They carry space inside them where a tightness once lived. Evening gathers. Elias mounts the window frame with a modest satisfaction that does not require applause. The house accepts the gift without ceremony. Through the new border, the sea presents a square of moving light that feels like a promise kept. He writes in the journal, kindness is a river. A spine is its banks. Without the banks, it floods and drowns the field. Without the river, it dries to dust. Together, they make a way through a thirsty land. He closes the book, thanks the day for what it taught, and rests while the sky perfects its quiet. My beloved child, listen to the shy blessings that arrive without trumpets. They taste like cool water and sound like first drops on thirsty ground. They are the daily proof that greatness is the child of gentleness. Elias wakes to the murmur of a drizzle testing the roof. The sound is neither urgent nor lazy. It is patient rain, the kind that lingers and learns each groove of each shingle. He makes tea and leaves the door ajar. The air that enters seems to carry forgiveness. He steps onto the porch and watches the garden strip beside the steps. Yesterday it was only hopeful soil. Today the first fragile green touches the dark surface with quiet courage. Elias kneels, not to press or to pry, but to marvel. He thanks what he cannot see for working the night shift of life. Beloved one, do not despise beginnings just because they are small. Heaven measures roots before it measures height. A thing that starts gently will often outlast the wind that mocks it. He sets 2 chairs under the porch roof, close enough for conversation, far enough for breathing. On the table he places a slice of bread with honey and a small plate of berries. He eats slowly, honoring the humble feast. Each bite teaches him to name gifts without turning gratitude into performance. Down the lane, footsteps approach. The figure from yesterday returns, carrying a folded letter. They do not sit right away. They stand by the rail and trace the grain with a fingertip. I slept, they say, as if reporting a miracle. I slept the way I used to, before the heavy years. Elias smiles a small smile that does not need to be seen. The table will remember that with you, he says, and gestures toward the chair. The rain answers with a softer song against the porch roof. They speak less today. When they do, the words land without splashing. Apology appears, not as a speech but as an offering set gently down, wrapped in the linen of sincerity. Elias receives it without ceremony. He does not lift it over his head or parade it around. He simply lets it belong. After the visit, Elias walks the hill path. The rain has become a fine mist that blesses everything without favor. He visits the lighthouse and wipes the lens with a soft cloth. He has no reason, only an intuition that care is its own prayer. He oils a hinge that does not yet complain. Prevented squeaks feel like a hymn to him. On his way back, he passes the notice board. A new message waits. A neighbor found the porch and came home lighter. Whoever you are, thank you. Below it, another hand has drawn a small sprig of rosemary and the word soon. Elias reads them like scripture written by the village in its own tender dialect. Beloved child, you are learning to hear the choir that never booked a stage. When you tend a hinge before it cries, you preach a sermon of rescue. When you wipe a lens before rust learns its new name, you light a path for strangers you will never meet. At midday, the drizzle lifts and leaves the world washed. Elias returns to the retreat house and brings the wooden frame to its window. The light comes through with a new clarity, as if joy had been polishing it from the other side. He places a small plant on the sill, a simple green with leaves shaped like open hands. In the afternoon, he receives a parcel on the porch. Inside are 2 cups, handmade, glazed the color of the sea when the sky is kind. There is a note, the kettle is willing, you said. It deserves faithful companions. Elias runs a thumb around the rim of each cup and feels how the maker cared where the lip would meet the mouth. Such mercies carry a flavor that lingers. He brews tea and christens 1 cup with steam and patience. The other cup he leaves empty at the table's far side. He prays the most honest prayer he knows. Bring the one who needs this cup, and teach me how to hold silence while they drink. Evening touches the water with silver. The garden strip receives the last light like a benediction. The bell does not ring, but in the quiet, Elias hears what it would have said if it needed to speak. Keep going, child. Keep going small. Small is how the strong arrive. He writes in the journal. Today tasted like rain. The porch learned a new song. A letter slept. A hinge forgot how to complain. The light found a frame and wore it like a crown that does not need a parade. He closes the book. Somewhere in the town, a door shuts softly, and the soft click sounds like trust. My beloved child, make a table that laughs. Set a lamp that knows how to listen. Invite the weary to rest their names there until the names remember how to be a blessing. In rooms like this, repair is not an event, it is a tone. Elias wakes to a day bright enough to show dust and gentle enough to make even dust look patient. He sweeps the floor with strokes that keep time with a tune he learned from the sea. He washes the window until it no longer remembers the fingerprints of weather. He lays the cloth across the table, smoothing it the way one smooths a brow after a long cry. From a cupboard he takes a small lamp with a clear glass chimney. He polishes the metal until it reflects without arrogance. When he lights the wick, the flame lifts its head and holds small court on the mantel. It does not conquer darkness, it befriends it, and the room becomes a conversation between glow and shadow. Beloved one, this is how light wins, not by shouting but by staying, not by burning everything, but by warming what it touches until it sighs with relief. He arranges a basket of bread and a dish of olives. He places a little bowl with salt as bright as new snow. He sets 2 of the sea-colored cups beside the pitcher. The table looks back at him with quiet pride, as if it understands the sacred art of being ready. When the first visitor arrives, it is not the one he expected. A courier places a parcel by the door and nods away. Inside is a plain wooden box, hinged and simple. A note lies beneath it for your table. The box knows how to hold stories without leaking them. Elias smiles and sets the box near the center, not as a centerpiece, but as a companion. Soon after, footsteps hesitate at the threshold. A pair of hands appears, empty but trembling as if carrying something heavy. Elias gestures to the chair that remembers how to hold. The visitor sits, and the table receives a soft confession about a friendship that went threadbare under the strain of pride and fear. Elias listens the way the lamp listens, by staying present without reaching for a spotlight. Beloved child, you are not here to fix anyone. You are here to refuse to leave while truth learns how to stand. Your patience is mortar between stones that would otherwise rattle in every wind. They speak, they pause, they laugh once, startled by the humor that sometimes sneaks into honest rooms. Tears come, and when they do not drown the talk, they water it. When words become too heavy, Elias invites the visitor to place them in the wooden box for a while. We can hold them together, he says, so you do not have to grip them alone. The lid closes with a sound like mercy settling into place. By midday, another visitor arrives, then a third. A neighbor who has been carrying anger like a bag of sharp rocks. A worker whose hours have sanded dignity until it is thin and weary. Each finds a place at the table, and the table does not complain about the weight of stories. The lamp gives each face of emotion a kind warmth and refuses to cast anyone into a corner. They eat bread and speak small blessings over olives and salt. Elias says little, but when he does, his words are shaped by rest rather than rush. You are allowed to take turns being strong, he tells them. You are allowed to arrive with your edges showing. The wooden box gains a few folded papers that do not need to be read aloud. At the end of each visit, Elias opens the lid, breathes a simple prayer, and returns the papers to their owners if they wish. Some choose to carry them home, lighter for having been shared. Some ask the box to keep them for a while. Elias agrees with a hand upon the lid, sealing the trust. Beloved one, rooms can change cities when they hold a tone that heals the small. Your table is a school where courage learns to speak in its indoor voice. As evening drifts in, laughter lingers under the rafters, the kind of laughter that knows what it costs to arrive. The lamp burns lower. Elias trims the wick with care, honoring the flame that is served. He clears the table slowly, as if not to startle the quiet that has settled there. When the last cup is washed and left to dry, the retreat house feels taller by a humble inch, as though kindness had added a floor invisible to the eye. Elias steps onto the porch and watches the path dream its way down the hill. The bell is a silhouette against a sky learning its first stars. He writes in the journal, "The table fed stories and the stories fed us back. The lamp learned the names of our shadows and called them friends until they softened. The box became a safe pocket in which wounds could ride without rubbing raw." He closes the book. The night breathes and decides to stay. "My beloved child, you asked for signs. I give you peace and you ask if it is real. I do not scold you. I understand hunger. Today I will answer you 3 times, softly, so you learn the dialect of my yes." Dawn breaks like a daily promise. Elias wakes with gratitude already standing beside his bed like an old friend. He dresses in quiet, warms the kettle, and sets the table with an extra cup. He does not know for whom. He only knows that love prepares before it understands. He steps outside to check the small garden strip. The green tips have risen by a whisper. He touches the soil with the back of his fingers, the way one touches a forehead to check for fever. The earth answers with cool certainty. Life is working where he cannot see. Beloved one, confirmation is not a performance. It is a steady chorus arriving through ordinary doors. Listen and you will hear it. The first confirmation arrives as a phrase spoken by a stranger passing the gate. The person murmurs to no one in particular, perhaps to the morning itself. "Peace is the weight I trust." Elias feels the sentence settle into him with a familiar anchor. It is the very words he wrote in the journal when the bell first taught him to measure by calm. The stranger does not look back. The words do not demand attention. They simply continue down the path, leaving recognition in their wake. Elias smiles without chasing. Some messages come on borrowed lips. He returns to the porch and finds the wooden box open by a hair's width. He could have left it that way by accident, but the lid's slight tilt seems to be saying, gently, remember to check the tender places. Inside lies a folded scrap he does not recall receiving. He opens it and finds a line written in a neat hand. "Build what outlives your name." He breathes once, deep and sure. The line marries the first confirmation. If peace is the weight he trusts, then building quiet durability is the path that peace blesses. Mid-morning brings the second confirmation disguised as work. The unfinished frame needs a companion. Elias carries wood to the bench and begins to shape another window. The grain resists in one corner and invites in another. He listens to the wood, not trying to force it into a shape it cannot hold. A rhythm appears, a fitting and a joining that feel like a conversation instead of a command. When the corner that fought him finally yields, it does so without a crack. The joint sits flush, and the whole piece feels truer for having been negotiated with patience. Beloved child, when a task aligns with grace, your strength does not leak as you labor. You tire, yes, but you do not fray. The work returns energy as it spends it, the way a friend returns a loan with a little extra in gratitude. As afternoon leans into the hill, a soft knock touches the door. A traveler stands beneath the porch roof, coat damp from a brief shower. They gesture toward the table. "I heard there was a place that mends quiet things," they say. Elias ushers them in. The kettle sings. Steam writes its pale script into the air and vanishes kindly. They share a story about a long disappointment that has learned to masquerade as personality. Elias listens until the disguise has nowhere left to hide. Then he asks, "What would your life sound like if you believed you were not behind?" The traveler closes their eyes and lets the question be a warm stone in cold hands. "It would sound like a steady bell," they answer. "It would sound like a path that does not hurry me," Elias nods. In the quiet, they both hear the bell, though it does not ring. The third confirmation arrives at dusk. Elias carries the new frame to its place and holds it up to the light. A breeze wanders through, lifts a sheet of paper from the table, and pins it against the frame as if asking for attention. He takes the paper and recognizes the letter without a signature, now with a final paragraph added in a smaller, steadier script. I will come tomorrow if the porch is willing to be a witness. I am ready to set down what I can no longer carry. The timing clicks into place with the day's earlier notes. Peace as weight, work that returns strength, a confession ready to be held by a patient room. 3 soft yeses in one continuous breath. Beloved one, this is how I lead you. Not with spectacle that burns your eyes, but with threads of certainty that stitch your day into a whole cloth. I will do it again and again until you know my tone from a distance. Elias lights the lamp and sets out 2 cups. He leaves a piece of bread wrapped in cloth beside the wooden box and writes a sentence in the journal. The yes arrived 3 times today, and never once demanded a stage. Then he adds another, quieter line. I am beginning to trust how quietly love smiles. Night settles kindly. The lamp lowers its voice but keeps the conversation warm. In the distance, the sea tells its long story to the shore, and the shore listens with patience earned over ages. The bell, silhouetted against a darkening sky, seems to rest with purpose rather than fatigue. Elias stands at the doorway for a long moment, the cool air touching his face like a blessing. He does not ask for a 4th sign. He has seen enough to walk. He closes the door with reverence, as if tucking the house into sleep. On the table, the 2 cups wait like open hands. A place is ready. A day has said yes in 3 gentle tongues. And somewhere above the roofline, quiet itself nods, pleased to have been understood. My beloved child, when the path forks, let peace draw the line you follow. Do not confuse excitement with clarity, nor stillness with lack. The direction that carries quiet strength, not restless rush, will always lead you home. Elias wakes before dawn. A thin mist sits upon the sea like a veil between what was and what is. The air feels newly written. He prepares the kettle, watches the small dance of flame beneath it, and thinks of how every decision now feels less like strategy and more like breathing. The porch waits. The chairs hold the memory of those who have sat and wept and healed. The table bears small scars from elbows and cups. He runs his hand across the wood as though blessing old friends. Today feels different, not louder, but fuller, as though a note once missing has finally joined the chord. Beloved one, you have learned the rhythm of waiting. Now learn the grace of choosing. Choices are not exams. They are invitations to agree with peace. A letter lies by the lamp. The one who promised to return has written again. I will climb the hill before sunset. I am no longer afraid of my own words. Elias breathes deeply. The day ahead will require gentleness with both truth and memory. He lets the words rest on the table like bread set to rise. He tends the garden, prunes the tender stems, so that the strong may grow. As his fingers move through green and soil, he hears the voice that has guided him through every quiet turning. Peace is the path, not the prize. Mid-morning brings the townspeople. 2 neighbors walk the path together for the first time in months, carrying baskets of fruit and cautious smiles. We thought the porch might like company, one says. Elias sets out the cups and welcomes them with warmth that feels like sunlight more than speech. They speak about small things, the weather, the harvest, the laugh of a child in the square, and somehow, without naming it, old tension melts like frost in the first light. The bell above the hill sways slightly, though the air is still. Elias looks up and feels the message in his bones. Heaven approves of peace that travels outward. Later, the visitor from the unsigned letter arrives. They walk slowly. the kind of slow that comes not from fatigue but reverence. Their steps sound like someone returning to sacred ground. The two sit. Between them, the table stands as witness once again. "I carried blame for too long," the visitor says. "It grew heavier than the sin itself." Elias pours tea into both cups. Steam rises between them, a bridge of mercy. "You can put it down," he replies. "This hill is good at holding what people outgrow." They sit long into the afternoon. Words fall like leaves, making space for light to pass through the branches. By evening, the visitor smiles with a softness that comes only after release. When they leave, they place their folded letter into the wooden box and whisper a thank you to the quiet itself. "Beloved one, this is how peace guides. It never shouts directions. It simply stands still until you learn to stop fighting the map." Elias writes in his journal, "Peace is the compass that never spins." Today it pointed toward forgiveness and found both giver and receiver waiting at the same table. Night arrives gently. The lamp's flame bows its head. The hill exhales. The bell stays silent, but in its silence, Elias hears the whisper, "You are facing true north now. My beloved child, what grows from patience does not wither under praise." Harvest is not a parade. It is a quiet acknowledgement that faithfulness has worked its miracle unseen. The morning smells of ripe figs and salt air. Elias walks among the small garden rows, hands behind his back like a contented steward. The first fruits have arrived, small, humble, perfect in their imperfection. He picks them gently, places them in a woven basket, and blesses the soil that offered them. Down the hill, laughter echoes. The visitors from earlier weeks have begun returning, not with burdens but with bread, with laughter, with help. The retreat house, once a solitary place of mending, has become a living rhythm. Someone repairs the fence, someone sweeps the porch, someone hums a tune that finds its way into every open window. Beloved one, this is harvest. It does not make headlines, it makes harmony. At midday, a messenger arrives carrying a bundle wrapped in cloth. Inside is a simple carved sign, the House of Rest. No one claims the work. The carving bears no signature. Elias places it above the door. The wood glows with gratitude, as if happy to name what it already knew itself to be. Inside, the wooden box is full of folded papers and small tokens, letters, prayers, fragments of stories entrusted to time. Elias does not read them. He simply places his hands on the lid and whispers, "Thank you for letting us hold each other's weight." Later, he walks to the lighthouse. The air smells of rain again, but no storm threatens. He climbs the spiral stairs. The lens gleams under his cloth, bright even without flame. As he polishes, he realizes the light it reflects now is not only from the sun outside, it seems to carry the radiance of peace inside him. Beloved one, you do not shine because you are flawless. You shine because you have made peace your dwelling. The light that once searched for you now shines through you. He looks out across the sea. The water stretches in calm surrender. Ships move in the distance, their sails catching gold. He knows that the light from this tower, when rekindled, will guide travelers again. But for now, it is enough that the tower stands restored, clean, waiting, steadfast. By evening, neighbors gather at the hill's base. They bring baskets of figs, olives, loaves, and laughter. No speeches, no ceremony, just shared work, finding shared joy. Someone begins a soft song, others join. The melody rises, simple and whole, wrapping the hill in warmth. Elias stands at the edge, watching. His heart swells not with pride, but with gratitude so deep it feels like water filling hidden wells. This is a harvest that will not fray, for it has no strings of ego to unravel it. When night folds itself over the town, he writes in his journal, "The field of faithfulness bore fruit today. we did not measure yield. We measured peace. Beloved one, remember this. Success that outlives applause is the only kind that matters. Let this be your rhythm plant. Tend, share, rest. My beloved child, sometimes the sanctuary you build for others becomes your own restoration. Do not resist being blessed in the place you prepared to bless. Elias wakes before dawn. A soft light seeps through the new window frame, painting gentle lines across the room. The air hums with readiness. He feels it in the floorboards, in the kettle, even in the bell that has not yet rung. The hill itself seems to lean forward, listening for the day's footsteps. Today the retreat will open fully, not as a grand event, but as a living invitation. Word has spread quietly among the townsfolk, a place to rest without judgment, to speak without performance, to listen until peace teaches its lesson. By morning, visitors arrive, Selah, whose eyes carry the exhaustion of someone who has been strong too long, Jonah, whose silence hides too many unspoken apologies, and others whose names Elias does not yet know. He greets each with a nod, a chair, and a cup. No sign of ceremony, only calm. They sit beneath the porch awning. The sea murmurs below like an amen between sentences. Elias listens to their stories. Some are spoken aloud, some are told only by the way hands twist or eyes lower. He does not interrupt pain with advice. He offers the table, the lamp, and time. Beloved one, presence is often the only sermon hearts can hear when they are still bleeding. Selah speaks of loss, the kind that is not death but distance. Jonah speaks of failure that wears the disguise of control. Another speaks of dreams delayed until they wilted. Each voice enters the quiet like a pebble dropped in still water. Ripples meet, overlap, and dissolve. Elias takes them on a slow walk to the lighthouse. The climb is not easy, but silence makes it sacred. When they reach the top, the sea opens before them, vast and forgiving. Look, he says. The horizon does not hurry to prove itself. It simply is. They stand together in shared awe. No one feels smaller. They feel right-sized participants in wonder rather than witnesses to it. Back at the retreat house, laughter begins to visit between tears. A shared meal follows, simple and perfect. Bread, figs, oil, water, and gratitude. When the meal ends, Elias brings out the wooden box. You may place here anything you wish to rest for a while, he says. Pain, prayer, or promise. This house knows how to keep secrets kindly. One by one, they write and fold small notes. The box receives them without burden. The lamp glows brighter as if fed by honesty. Beloved one, this is community. Hearts mending not because they are the same, but because they choose to listen. As evening settles, the bell rings once. Not from human hands, but from the breeze that has learned compassion. Everyone looks up, smiles, and feels something loosen. The sound lingers, like peace remembering its echo. Elias writes in his journal, "Today the hill became a choir. We did not sing with mouths, but with stillness that hummed, Amen. The retreat is no longer a building. It is a breathing covenant. My beloved child, power does not always arrive with volume. True authority is the ability to steady a trembling room without raising your hand or your voice. Days pass gently after the retreat's opening. People come and go, leaving behind the sound of healed laughter and the scent of forgiveness. Elias has learned to walk through each space like a caretaker of invisible gardens. Every word, every gesture, a seed. One morning, the bell's shadow lies across the path like a guiding hand. He follows it to the lighthouse, where the door now opens without resistance. The air inside feels newly alive. The lens gleams, patient and expectant. He senses that it is time. He gathers oil, wicks, and steady breath. With care that feels like prayer, he lights the lamp inside the tower. The flame rises, humble but unwavering. Through the glass, its glow stretches across the water, announcing not triumph, but invitation. Beloved one, light need not shout to be seen. Its authority is in its consistency. Word spreads through the town, people lift their faces toward the glow. Some call it a blessing, others a miracle. Elias calls it faith, finally finding its voice. At dusk, Selah and Jonah return. They bring stories of reconciliation, apologies accepted, letters exchanged, quiet understanding blooming where arguments once grew. They tell Elias how the hilltop stillness followed them home and changed the way they speak to those they love. Elias listens, smiling softly. Then the work is working, he says. Beloved one, you have repaired what could not be shouted into wholeness. You have become the calm that others borrow until they can make their own. Night deepens. The lighthouse beam sweeps across the bay, painting the sea with rhythm and light. Elias climbs the tower once more. From this height, everything looks purposeful, the paths, the houses, even the pauses between waves. He realizes that heaven's design has always been repair disguised as process. He places his hand on the lantern's glass. Warmth pulses back into his palm. Below, the retreat house glows with smaller lights, each window a witness, each lamp a continuation. He descends the steps slowly, thanking each for its patience in supporting him all these years. At the base, he pauses to look out toward the sleeping town. The lighthouse, the house of rest, the sea, the bell, all hum the same quiet melody. Nothing wasted, everything mended in time. Elias writes one final note for the day. Repair does not announce itself. It walks in wearing silence and leaves the door open for hope to follow. He closes the journal, places it beside the wooden box, and lets the night breathe around him. Beloved one, remember this always. True authority never needs to prove itself. It only needs to remain kind, steady, and sure. The flame within the lighthouse bows but does not die. The stars above answer with recognition. And somewhere, unseen, heaven whispers its approval through the wind. My beloved child, there are sentinels stationed at every turning of grace. They are not soldiers of iron and roar, they are keepers of calm, posted at the edge of your obedience. Their armor is gentleness, their sword is discernment. You meet them whenever peace asks you to pause. Elias wakes to the sound of wind weaving through the eaves. It is neither warning nor wail. It feels like an ancient conversation being continued. He rises, stirs the fire, and feels gratitude move through him like quiet lightning. Every plank of the retreat house seems to hum with awareness. He steps outside. The path down the hill shimmers with dew, the grass bowing in soft reverence. The air carries a strange stillness, as if the world is waiting to see what will happen when a heart finally decides to stay faithful.